It's time for the Prophecy Pulse podcast, tuning in to heaven's end time signals with your host, Nick Johnston of Never Unprepared Ministries.
Moving to chapter 3.2, good order requires good bookkeeping. Here's where you first introduce several different books. The book of life, the book of living, book of the living rather, the book of remembrance, and the scroll.
The seven-sealed scroll. Yeah.
Seven-sealed scroll.
And not to mention the Bible.
Yeah, not to mention the Bible. That's right.
So bookkeeping is important. And keeping records, detailed records, is important. Now, me my career was finance, so we kept good records, good bookkeeping. You have to, because you have to prove to auditors and other people that everything is in order. At the end, on Judgment Day, those books will be opened. Everything that you've thought and done will be revealed.
Scary thought.
It's a scary thought. It's humbling, but it's done so that people don't think. There was probably multiple reasons it's done, but one of the reasons is, well, that was such a little thing. Nobody's going to know that.
Yes.
Nobody's going to see that. Nobody's going to remember that. It's in the book. It's recorded. That's a little intimidating, but it's important to know that somebody who did something little that caused you problems is going to have a reckoning for that. It's all going to be revealed, and so the bookkeeping is important.
Yeah, and it also emphasizes the point you were making just before about how incredible it is that Jesus is not going to have any wrongdoings in the book.
That's right.
Any of the books.
He is he's a blemishless lamb. Yes. And that is awe-inspiring. But to add to that, though, we as Christians have nothing to fear on Judgment Day, because we're saved of His blood. But on Judgment Day, we'll hear what we were saved from. It'll all be revealed, because it's not just us that's the audience. Revelation 5:13 tells us the audience of all this is those in heaven, those on earth, and those under the earth. That's the audience.
Yes, not just those walking the earth.
Yeah, that's right. We think that we are the preeminent beings that the Bible talks to, and that all this is done for. We're one of His beings. We're one of His creation, but He's got other creation, and we'll see at the end there is a revolution that occurs in that creation. One part of that creation, and those books of everything being recorded and then being played out on Judgment Day will reveal to everyone on heaven, on earth, and under the earth why He did what He did, and everybody will say, "Aha! I see now. I see the big picture." It's not just for us, though. It's for the angels and those that have lost their place as angels.
Yes. You say, still in the same section, talking about the day of the Lord, which is the day on which Jesus will bring an end to Satan's kingdom of chaos and take his place as the new king of the world. Jesus will finally restore order to creation, something that creation has longed for ever since order was lost when Adam forfeited his dominion.
That's right.
Expand a little bit on that.
All creation's been groaning since the beginning, since that time. They experienced, when you think of creation, you're thinking of the earth, the trees, the animals, the sun, the moon, the stars, all that. It had experienced creation. It had experienced perfection at the moment of creation, all through the point where Eden was created. And then when Adam took the bite of the apple, or the fruit, it wasn't an apple, God said, there'll be repercussions. And the repercussions were, females will have pain in childbirth, you're going to have toil on the soil now, there'll be weeds and stuff. That's when creation was broken. And it remembers, it has a corporate memory of some type of when it was perfect, and it's longing to get back to that perfection. And we'll see that perfection happen in the sixth seal. But we'll see them recognizing that it's about to be performed, or about to be returned in the sixth seal. But yeah, they're just as out of sorts as we are. The creation is out of sorts in comparison to us, or along with us, because their corporate memory is they remember the time when it was perfect.
Expand on the idea that Adam had dominion over all things and lost it to Satan.
That's right.
In that one act,
That's right.
in that disobedience.
Yeah, he was the king of the earth. When God, in Genesis, when it says God gave him dominion over everything, that dominion means you are the king, right? So he was king of the earth, such as it was.
He had the authority that was then lost to Satan,
That's right.
who has used it for evil purposes ever since.
That's right. Once he became, once he deceived Adam, he essentially stole the kingdom. Now he is the king of the earth, and that's hard for Christians to understand.
Oh yeah,
because we think we sing about the King Jesus, and he is coming back as the king. When he comes back, he's coming back with a crown on that horse with a sword. He is crowned king when he comes back. Right now, we are part of his kingdom. If we've accepted him, we're part of his kingdom. But it's kind of like a behind-the-scenes kingdom, because the real king of the earth is Satan right now. He's got, and that's why we pray. And all this didn't come together until I did all this research. I'd been a Christian for 30-something years. And it didn't come together until I saw this big picture that we pray. Jesus taught us how to pray. And he says, thy kingdom come.
yes.
It's not thy kingdom's here. It's like we're praying for his kingdom to come. We're praying for that second coming. And that's part of understanding all this, is when is that second coming happening? When Jesus will be king on earth as it is in heaven. Right now, he's king in heaven, but not until this final act is he king on earth.
I think, so I'm sure this particular point is going to be of interest to many people who read your book. I was aware of man's forfeited inheritance to Satan prior to reading this book, but not most of my life. That's a relatively new revelation for me. That's how Satan got the dominion over the earth. Man forfeited his dominion.
That's right.
Adam.
That's
And
right.
also that a consequence was that they were no longer immortal. Adam and Eve were supposed to be, they were supposed to live forever. And another consequence was death.
That's right. Death entered in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That brings us to 3:3. God keeps his promises. And I think a key point I got out of this was, it says God's plan was established from the very beginning. God wasn't surprised by the fall of man.
That's right.
He wasn't caught off guard. That's a revelation as well.
It is, and I've heard this in context with like the Old Testament and the New Testament. Like, God gave us the law, and then he gave us Jesus, who brought grace and the New Testament essentially. And I've heard it described like, well, that didn't work. The Old Testament didn't work, so he's going to try something new.
Yes.
It's the same thing with this. God. You have to understand that God exists outside of time. We are linear through time. We know what the past was, but we don't know what the future is. If he's existing outside of time, he can see the past and the future. He knows the end from the beginning. That's why he's the Alpha and the Omega. So he is in the only position to see it all, and he knew once he created what was going to happen. He knew Adam was going to do this.
Yes.
He knew all these steps that were going to happen. This is you kind of get into predestination versus determination, but it's not like this surprised him. He already had a plan for it from the very beginning, how to handle this. This is going to happen, so I've got to have this and this. So everything was in place on day one, and that's hard for us to get our minds around because, well, how did he know? Well, he knows. When you're outside of time, you know the past from the future. And that's how you can do prophecy accurately.
Yeah.
There's no way to do it unless you can see the future, and he sees the future.
You say that once God makes a proclamation through a prophet, he cannot lie, and so has obligated himself to ensure it comes to pass. God isn't surprised by the decisions we make, including Adam's. Neither our choices nor Satan's can derail God's master plan.
That's right. And when I say he obligates himself, we say there's nothing that God can't do. Well, there is.
Yeah.
There's things that Jesus can't do too, and that is violate their prophecy. That would mean they're false. So this takes so much. That's what we know. That's how we can be sure of God, that he knows the future, because he wrote it down in detail.
Yeah.
Multiple places through multiple prophets in detail. It's in black and white, and those things must come to pass. Just like Jesus said when he was here, I must do what the Father says. I can only do what the Father says. The Father's laid it out. He's got to follow it. So yes, that's the one thing that they can't do, is violate what they put on paper, because it wouldn't come true. And so that to me is the beauty of our prophecy. We see that the prophecy has come true all about Jesus. You can see almost 300 prophecies about Jesus' first coming, maybe more. And those have come true. We can look back and say, wow, those guys 500 years before were talking about Jesus, and this is exactly what happened. I mean, Isaiah is just amazing, exact, step by step. But so he's done it once, and now he's got all this stuff about the future, and we know that's going to be accurate too.
Well, you even bring up a huge point in that regard regarding Israel.
Yeah.
And until a few decades ago, the fulfillment of the prophecy that Israel would become a nation again seemed absolutely impossible, because it had been utterly destroyed about 40 years after Jesus was crucified. And for centuries, theologians struggled to make sense of the prophecies about a future Israel, because no country once destroyed and disbanded had ever reappeared.
That's right.
So there's another great example of God fulfilling his prophecies in a way that man would never have imagined.
That's right. And we think about what it's like for us to read Revelation and Ezekiel, and talking about Israel, all this stuff about Israel happening at the end times. Can you imagine what it was like during, say, World War I in 1918 or so, about that time? You're saying, how could this happen? These are all these prophecies about Israel, and this is happening in Jerusalem. These prophets are appearing in Jerusalem and stuff.
Yeah.
It's gone. It's not a nation anymore. How can this happen? So we think it's difficult for us today to interpret prophecy. Just think how difficult it was 80, 90 years ago, before Israel became a nation in 1948. It had a degree of difficulty that was just hard to comprehend. And when that happened, it's like, wait a minute, this has never happened in history. This is something amazing. Was it May 14th, 1948, when they declared themselves a nation? And ever since, before that, it was just something that they were trying to figure out how.
The diaspora.
Yeah, before that, they were just everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
You make the point, while God allows us free will, giving us the ability to make our own choices, excuse me, he has also established boundaries to prevent our actions from derailing his plans. This means that God sometimes intervenes in the affairs of rulers to ensure his plan stays on course.
Right. And that's a little tough one to understand. He directs rulers like a water course. He can. He has a plan, and if things are going off plan, he can steer it back. And he's done it multiple times. Tower of Babel is one of the first ones.
Yeah.
When he saw that they weren't, he commanded his people to go forth and spread throughout the world and multiply. And they decided to just kind of stay and congregate there in in what's now Iraq, and build a tower together, a giant tower. And so he said, wait a minute, you're not doing what I said. So let's make it difficult for you to continue staying in opposition to what I want. And he confused their language, and they then dispersed into different groups and went off their different ways exactly as he planned. So this is where he's directing them like a water course.
He also limited man's lifespan to 120 years.
That's right. He said, well, I will not contend with them forever.
That's right.
And
He also sent the great flood.
Yeah, that's right. Because they were going completely off course, and he course corrected again.
And in the future, at the end of the Great Tribulation, when Satan is on the brink of totally destroying the earth, John tells us that God will step in again so that his people, the elect, will be saved.
That's right. It says when God will cut short those days.
Yeah.
And that's a big question. What does that mean? Well, in my book, when I laid out the timeline, it became evident, very evident, what cut short means. But he's going to stop the total destruction of the earth. It's going to be this close to total destruction, and he stops it. That's cutting short. Mm-hmm. That's interfering in the course of man.
It is.
To keep his plan on track.
So there's free will, but there's also God's divine intervention.
That's right. That's right. And you can look at that divine intervention also in our daily lives. We have certain things happen, or we pray for certain things to happen.
We pray for divine intervention, don't we?
And we get it sometimes. And so that's God interfering in the course of man. Now, interfering in a good way for us.
Yes.
But we believe that he can do it, mm-hmm. and sometimes he does. Mm-hmm. So that's us asking him to interfere, to intercede or interfere.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a way to look at it.